But let's see what the New York Times said about Sinners. Sinners is a box office success with a big asterisk. Yeah, I remember I read this in the morning and it pissed the F out of me. So look, everybody's talking about how great Sinners is. It has very high ratings from the critics. It has an A score from audiences. It's just a pure success. It was #1 at the box office. So why have there been so many shady headlines from top trade magazines or newspapers? Let's start with Variety. Variety said, and I have to read this, Sinners has amassed $61 million in its global debut. It's a great result for an original R-rated horror film, yet the Warner Brothers release has a $90 million price tag before global marketing expenses, so profitability remains a ways away. So shout out to Ben Stiller because he called out this very shady headline. And this is what he said. He said, in what universe does a $60 million opening for an original studio movie warrant this headline? And that's the key. This is an original studio movie, meaning this is not some prequel, sequel, or number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the same kind of franchise. This is an original movie. And there's even more to this story. Ryan Coogler and his wife is a producer on this film. They were able to negotiate a deal with Warner Brothers where Ryan Coogler, it's like an unprecedented deal in many ways. He was able to gain first dollar gross, which means he makes money from the first dollar that this film makes. Normally, a director makes money after the studio recoups its money, meaning, after all the expenses are paid, but he's able to make money right at the first dollar. Not only that, he was able to negotiate to regain the rights to this film because this film could potentially become a franchise. So he and his family will retain or regain the rights to this film in 25 years. So that is amazing. And actually, a few other directors have had similar deals. But that is amazing. And Ryan Coogler says it was important to have this kind of deal where he pretty much has his ownership because this film is about Black freedom and about Black people fighting for their ownership. So it was just important for him in real life to have that kind of freedom and to have that kind of ownership, because it would look crazy to not have this ownership and yet write a film talking about it. So with that, some of the studio heads allegedly are nervous that this could actually disrupt the studio system of what I just said, where normally a director is not making money at the first dollar and where normally a director is never regaining the rights to whatever film they wrote and directed. So that's where that is. But see, now the shadiness when it comes to the film headlines didn't stop with Variety. Let's go back in time, though. New York Times, back in time with New York Times. New York Times did an article when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was released. That's a Tarantino film, which I actually enjoyed. Tarantino actually also will regain the rights to that film in a few decades. So there's a lot of alignment here with this film and Sinners, and you'll see here shortly. So the New York Times, this was their headline after the release of that film. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a box office hit for Tarantino. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt helped the director score one of the biggest opening weekends of his career. That film, it ended up making $40.4 million, and the budget was similar to Sinners. It was about $90 million. And that's what the New York Times said. Hey, that's a great headline. But let's see what the New York Times said about Sinners. Sinners is a box office success with a big asterisk. Yeah, I remember I read this in the morning and it pissed the F out of me. Anyway, Ryan Coogler's original horror film was expected to sell a strong $46 million in tickets over the weekend, enough for number one, but its profitability remains a long way off. As Ben Stiller said, in what universe? First of all, I'm not sure it's such a long way off because I wanted to go see this film a second time. I was ready to go ahead and get my ticket for this upcoming weekend. I wanted to see it. I saw it on IMAX, but I wanted to see it on the IMAX 70 millimeter, which apparently is really how Ryan wanted you to see it. And there's only but so many theaters in this country that actually have that type of screen. There's one in New York. So I wanted to go to a particular theater to see it. Do you know that the only seats available are right at the front of the screen? You know, the seats that most people don't want to sit in because your neck will pretty much disappear. So those are the only seats available. And that's all the way from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like all 3 days. And then I looked at another theater and it's just all sold out that weekend. And I was listening to a commentator who said in her area, she's told that, because she has a friend who works in the theaters, she said, one, most of the shows are sold out and there are people trying to go in the morning. There are people trying to go in the middle of the workday to try to see this film. So this film is hot, it's popular, and I predict it will absolutely be profitable.